Hello and welcome to Chapter 8, Communicating and Collaborating. And this is one of the most interesting chapters to me because I've done some research in this area, so we'll be able to chat a little bit about this. The first notion the Turnbulls mention in this chapter is about teams. It's the idea that you will be participating in hopefully collaborative and not competitive teams. We all know the difference, and I hope we know the difference between setting up collaborative versus competitive teams. If you've taught at all in your classroom, you know that you can get a lot out of your children by implementing both types of team environments. However, we are collaborators as special education practitioners or general education practitioners who will be implementing partnerships with our children. In any case, we will be collaborating on teams in our schools. And these teams, it'll seem like, I think once you get out there, it'll seem like you're on a whole bunch of different teams, and we'll be going to different meetings all the time. So these different teams will require different roles of you. And one of the terms that I really enjoyed about in this chapter was this idea of role release. Now the picture that you see there is obviously the Yankees baseball team, and I know we don't have many baseball fans in our class, but the Yankees were a pretty good team there for a while. Joe Torre, as their manager, led them to several world championships. Now the guy beside him is a guy named Don Zimmer, and Don Zimmer won championships for back when the Dodgers were in Brooklyn as a player. He never won one as a manager by himself, but he did win championships as team consultant and bench coach for the Yankees and even other teams as well. So the idea, though, with this role release, to give you a long story on a short idea here, is this idea where you will have to sometimes switch your role within these teams. So to kind of step out of that traditional role that you might see yourself in as a teacher or a special educator, a provider of services, in order to sometimes learn from others, in order to help with brainstorming, in order to help solve problems, you sometimes have to step out of that role. And I think that Joe Torre and Don Zimmer were definitely emblematic of this, because sometimes Torre, as the head coach of the team, stepped out of his role in order to do things, to listen to other people, and Don Zimmer did the same as well. Sometimes he was on the pitching team, the pitching coach team, and sometimes he was on the hitting team. And, even though he wasn't a pitcher, and even though he really wasn't a great hitter, he had to transition to different types of roles. And I think you will have to be asked to do that. And in doing so, you will create even better teams. So the book for the rest of this chapter gives us lots of techniques and ideas in how to communicate well within teams. And we'll talk about nonverbal and verbal communication ideas and other techniques as we go. So some of the tenets of good teams are that they mate regularly, prescribed times, they start and end on time. To be on time is to be late. To be early is to be on time. these types of sayings actually are different in all sorts of different cultures. If you were in the Spanish culture, for example, you may walk in 5 minutes late and it's no big deal. If you were in the Native American culture, for example, I work with the Miami tribe. Team meetings are not set for particular times at any particular manner. However, it is expected that everybody contributes, and that is a new thing for me as well, because I'm actually kind of quiet in my first couple of meetings. The agenda with the Miami tribe is always set by the person who calls the meeting. So this may be different in our school-based teams, and it's really important that you try to understand the culture of your school, but also the culture of the parents, because if they are the ones who have called the meeting, it's very possible that they would like to set that agenda. So if you were to come to a meeting, let's say with a child in the Miami tribe, it might seem condescending to think about, to the tribe member, to the family member, to give them the agenda for that meeting. Very important that you do provide some sort of notes for individuals who were not at meetings. These are just good leadership notes. Setting clear goals, of course, and even some of our roles for the decision-making process. And lastly, definitely take time to enjoy each other's contributions. I think it's really important that, I know we're in a rush to get to the next meeting, and this will come up later as well, but we really need to take time in our meetings to understand all of the individuals around us within our team, because that only makes our team better. A couple nonverbal communication ideas here. The physical attending, actually being there, your facial expressions and gestures, those become really important. And the book brought this up, and I think that these are interesting, just something to think about. So we'll go through them quickly. The listen, empathize, communicate, respect. We know these things. Ask questions, take notes, focus on the issues, find a first step. Okay, all these things are great. Definitely don't criticize the people who aren't present. Choose to. I think just in general, when people ask me or start talking about other people who are not there, I tend to try to not always just change the subject, but I try to maybe make a general comment about the world and then change the subject. I never try to talk about people who are not there unless it's in a very positive light. So on and so forth. So with all these things, it's very important that we are mindful of the situation that we are in, and that the things that we say and communicate verbally and non-verbally within that situation, how we make promises, all these types of things, really important that we stay present in that current situation and be reflective upon how we act and how we communicate, right? So some verbal communication techniques, notes. If you are listening empathetically, if you are engaged in listening, then some of the and yes and could you repeat that? Some smaller little encouragers will become second nature. I love paraphrasing. If you watch the other video, you'll hear a little bit more about that, but it's really, really important that we repeat back what other people said, that as we are taking notes, we are not just worried about the next question that we're going to ask or those little encouragers to keep people talking, but we are also repeating back what we hear people say. Again, this is a way to show respect and communicate that respect verbally. Let's see. Definitely ask questions, lots of questions to families. This is really important, or to anybody on the team. This is really important. Don't feel that, here's one thing I've learned in lots of teams that I've been on. Don't feel like you're asking a stupid question. I think that this is important. Sometimes that there are questions, procedural questions that you may want to just ask on the side. But if you are in a meeting with a family and you've been doing this, let's say for 5, 6, 7, 10 years, you've been having these meetings with families and all these things, do not assume that the families understand procedural ideas. Do not assume that everybody on a team knows how things work. It's really important that you ask questions, even if you know the answer, but you want to help other people within the team. That's actually really important. And again, that helps share power and shows that you're caring about all the people on the team. Yes. I think that that's a really important point. So do question, and try to remember that there are no stupid questions. Again, you can ask questions on the side, but very important to ask some questions outwardly just to continue the conversation and keep everybody in the loop. Next little section here is on conflict resolution. And this is an idea near and dear to my heart, so I'll spend about 2 slides talking about this. What we want to do is we want to have a couple techniques in the bag so that we can resolve conflict if conflict arises. Please remember that conflict is a normal, healthy team-building exercise, and so to stay mindful and present within the moment will help you resolve conflicts in an easier way. Being overtaken by emotion or responding with something that is violent in a violent way to somebody else who had made a comment in such a way only weakens the team. So here are a couple ideas. Be aware of the impact of your own behaviors and beliefs. If you know that you do not respond well to heated discussions, then take a moment to breathe. Just stop right within the conversation and take a moment to breathe. Know who you are and how you are, and be able to reduce your diastolic in order to continue the conversation, because it is sometimes the best problem solving on teams happens through conflict and sometimes through these situations. Question your own preparedness. I have to tell you that there have been problems that have occurred on teams that I've been on, and I have to tell you, I thought I knew the way that we needed to go to solve this problem, and it wasn't until I took a step back, because I think I know myself. I think I know that I'm a pretty knowledgeable person in solving conflicts and being creative and things like that. But it wasn't until I took a step back and said, okay, am I sure that I know the proper structure, the proper organization that we were trying to solve this conflict for? And it's true. And when I did that, I realized that I didn't understand the proper organization of the structure, and therefore my judgment was clouded in trying to solve the conflict and trying to solve the problem. So be aware of this. Take a moment, take a step back, and think about it. This piece, the mindfulness strategies, if you're interested, please email me. I have lots of information on mindfulness strategies and different ways that you can cultivate mindfulness. I also would recommend Jon Kabat-Zinn, and I would recommend daily practice for mindfulness and reading a little bit into that. And if you have any further questions, please let me know. I am part of a Center for Mindfulness here at Miami University, and we do outreach workshops and discussions and things like that. So this, I believe, is very important for educators and professionals in all walks of life. Using the Getting to Yes, on the resources page, I did provide a link to the Getting to Yes book. If you haven't read it, it is fairly interesting in how to negotiate so that everybody wins. This is a win-win type of situation, but there is a book called Getting to Yes, and it is pretty engaging, and so although it's a little bit of filler, there's a little filler in there, but it is a nice book, and so really important that that you think about some of these concepts as well. I thought that this was an interesting piece. Turnbull's added in here this idea of cultural reciprocity. I'm not going to go through this a whole lot because I'm running short on time, but I think it is really important when you are solving conflicts with families who have a different cultural background. I think it's really important to kind of think about these steps a little bit. Recognize the cultural values and assumptions and how challenges might be perceived, and how recommendation for services, how you might go about doing it or they might go about doing it. Determine how the family might agree with those beliefs, acknowledge and provide respect for those differences, and identify the best way to modify those professional interpretations. So really trying to align decision-making and conflict resolution and developing teams coinciding with cultural beliefs in different families that we'll be working with. So in summary here, there is a need for effective strategies, communication strategies, to break into those natural communication loop of the family. So understanding the level of cultural competence that you have and being able to implement that in your communication techniques and team building and team meeting ideas will be really important. Be responsive to the data from all sources, including other agencies and extended members of the family, maybe even the church. Go out there and find it. If you need a different perspective on a family, on a child, then go out and get it. You can. That's going above and beyond, remember. Be an effective communicator is the first principle of the trust-based partnership. I would reference the Chapter 7 video for this. And again, effective communication requires knowledge of nonverbal, verbal communication skills. These are the points that I've tried to communicate to you here today. Just some small techniques and strategies so that you are engaging in collaborative problem solving. You are utilizing your cultural competence and all of your talents in resolving these conflicts and potential misunderstandings. Again, mediation is key, communication is key. We build trust, we build respect, we build a level of cultural understanding and communication, and then partnerships are solidified.